Welcome back, class, to week 3 of CIS 112, beginning Linux. This week we'll be covering some fresh new commands. So last week we learned some basic navigation commands, which are essential for file and directory navigation. This week we'll actually manage our files and directories with a new set of commands. So we'll learn how to create, edit, and manage files directly from the shell. So typically you might do this on a graphical user interface. I'll give you the example of Microsoft Write. So my videos, for example, I can create folders. To actually create the videos, right, is a different process, but you can also create files here. We're going to do the same, but just via the command line. So no graphical interface, no buttons. And you'll see it's actually quite fast if you kind of get the hang of it. So there's definitely that advantage when it comes to speed and efficiency. So yeah, this week's lesson will help you gain confidence in managing files and directories. Remember, directories is just another word for folders. Just a little bit of review. So remember the file system. Like I said, with Windows, it's the File Explorer app, and Mac OS, that'd be your Finder. Well, in a Linux system, right, we're going to navigate the file system through the bash terminal, command line interface. So just a little bit of vocab. I know we've already been working with files in lab 1. Didn't want to overwhelm y'all with a bunch of vocab in the first couple weeks, but we'll pick up some keywords as we go along. So file, of course, is a collection of data or information stored on a computer. Files can contain anything, text, images, code, and there's also other types of data, right? Audio, for example. In Linux, everything is treated as a file. The documents, the programs, even the hardware devices are all treated as files from the perspective of the Linux file system. So files are organized into directories. Remember, that's just another word for folder. And then back in the day, right, we call them folders because we used to store our documents in these manila folders. If you notice the icon, right, looks like a little folder. So yeah, files are organized in directories. They can be created, modified, or moved, even deleted through the command line. We'll understand how to manage these files purely right through those keyword commands. Of course, we have to also define directory. We've already talked about it a bit. So it's actually considered a type of file. Technically, it is a file. Remember, in Linux, everything is, from the perspective of Linux, a file, even the directories. So it's a file that contains references to other files. So directory, remember, it's a folder, so it'll contain sometimes other folders, sometimes other files, depending on how we structure them. So Linux directories are similar to folders in graphical interfaces, remember, just like in Windows. Our documents, downloads folders, pictures folder. Well, there's also folders like that in our Linux operating system. And now that you have a virtual machine, right, you're actually running a real Linux operating system on your computer. Very cool. So directories can be nested. You can have one inside the other. The root directory is the top level directory in any file system, and that's usually the /. And that's actually how we separate different directories, as we'll see in the next slide. So users can navigate, create, remove, and manipulate directories purely through the command line. We don't need any interfaces to do this, any graphical interfaces, I should say. So command line is a special interface that just uses text commands. All right, so path. Path is an important concept here because path is how we locate different directories and files. So path is a specific location of a file or directory within the file system. It describes how to navigate to directories to reach a file folder. So it's essentially your it's kind of like the directions. Just like websites, right, have URLs, they have addresses. Well, in your file system, you're also going to have an address or location to a particular file or directory. So the absolute path means that it's the path that contains everything from the root all the way to the file. So, for example, something that's in my documents folder called file.txt, as you see here. Let me put this in full screen. There we go, that's much better. So something that's in my documents folder, if I give you the absolute path, you're going to see home, user, documents, file.txt. Now, if I'm currently, in one of the folders, for example, the user folder, then I'm going to probably see relative paths. So if I hit my ls command, I'll see all the directories inside. I won't see all the folders before that. So for example, if I'm in the user folder and then I hit my ls, I'm probably going to see document/file.txt as one of the directories. Now, I probably would only see documents, right? Unless I do some special command to actually list the file. But the point is, relative path, it's relative to the current directory you're in. We'll see that in the demo with more detail, relative versus absolute paths. So just remember, absolute is going to contain everything all the way from the beginning. Relative is just going to start wherever you're currently at. So paths are essential for navigating and accessing files in the command line. Again, we'll give you some better demonstrations once we get to the actual command line demo. So executing shell commands. So another few keywords. We've already used some of these, but it's important to define them now that we're gotten our feet wet a bit with the Linux commands and the bash shell. So command flags, also known as options or switches, are special modifiers. They're special instructions you can give to a command to kind of modify what that command does. So flags are typically preceded by a dash or a double dash. So before you actually put a flag, usually you're going to put a dash or a double dash before it, depending on the command, depending on the shell even. So for example, with the ls command, we already did ls-l. The -l modifies that initial command, right? And gives us a long format. So it gives us extra information on the files. So if I just do ls, it's going to give me the files. If I do ls-l, it's going to give me extra information. So that -l was a flag for the ls command. Just like the -a command that shows the hidden ones, -a is going to modify that ls command. So command flags, they modify our original command. Very, very useful. And once we start making scripts, we're actually going to make our own flags. We're going to define flags on our own. So a little bit of review. Remember, we learned the print working directory, essential for navigating our file system. We learned how to change directories with the cd command. We learned how to list the files and directories in our current directory with the ls command. And now we're gonna learn a few new commands. So new command, the first one is the make directory command. So we can now create our own directories. We don't have to use any special graphical interface. We're going to do this directly from the shell. So mkdir or dir is the make directory command. It creates a new directory. The command is essentially mkdir and then the name of the directory you want to create. So for example, make directory projects is going to create a new directory called projects. You can make multiple directories at once by just providing extra arguments. So mkdir, and then you give 3 different directory names: directory 1, directory 2, directory 3, or dir1, dir2, dir3. Those are the names we made up for the example. This would create 3 directories at once with the names dir1, dir2, and dir3. Another important one, if we're going to create directories, we must also be able to destroy them. So rmdir is to remove directories, delete them. So it removes only empty directories. So it's not a very powerful command because most of the time directories are going to have files or other directories within them. But it's still important to learn. So rmdir, videos, for example, would remove the videos directory, but only if it's empty. If you want to remove a non-empty directory, we're going to need a different type of command. So this one's more commonly used because, again, most directories have stuff in them. This one's very limited because you can only delete empty directories, so directories that have nothing inside them. So the more useful command is the remove or rm command. So this deletes files or directories. If you want to delete a single file, you do rm, then the file name. For example, rm notes.txt would delete that file called notes.txt. If you want to delete a directory and the contents, you would use rm-r. Now sometimes if there's protected directories or there's nested directories, it's going to ask you to confirm If you don't want to, worry about deleting the directories inside or getting these prompts, you can use the more slightly dangerous command, the rm-rf. That's going to wipe everything inside your directory, files, nested directories, files inside those directories, directories inside that directory. So it's going to go in and just nuclear bomb that directory. The -r, that flag means recursive, so it's going to go through each directory, search through everything, wipe it clean, go inside the next level, wipe that clean, and wipe that clean until it goes back to the top and everything's clean. And then the force is going to remove everything without asking you to confirm. So yeah, use it sparingly, right? Make sure that what you're removing you actually want to get rid of. Touch. So we've learned how to create directories. How do we create files? We use the touch command. So for example, if you want to create a text file called notes.txt, all you have to do is touch notes.txt. It's going to create an empty file. If the file does already exist, so if there's already a notes.txt, it's going to update the last modified time. Keep in mind, it won't overwrite the contents of an existing file. It'll just change that timestamp. If the file doesn't exist, then it'll create, like I said, a new empty file. And then nano. Remember, we're going to be actually performing commands with this in the demonstration part of the video. So the nano command will launch a command line text editor. Very useful if you want to edit a file. So nano file name opens a file for editing in the nano text editor. So you'll be able to make changes to the file via the command line. So for example, nano notes.txt. We suppose, right, that notes.txt already exists. And then it'll open that file and allow you to make changes to it. It'll give you a little guide at the bottom of the nano on how to do special commands, like if you want to save the file, if you want to exit the nano, or even if you want to search for a particular string of text, you can do that via these control commands, Control O, Control X, Control W. O stands for output, in case you're curious. That's why we use the O to save the file. We're going to output to the file. So yeah, again, we'll be doing all of this in the demonstration. So just keep in mind, what the name of the command is and what it does. We'll actually put it to use during the demonstration. And then cat, which is short for concatenate. This displays the contents of a file. So if you cat any file, you'll be able to see what's inside of it. So for example, cat notes.txt will show us everything in notes.txt. Just like we saw with the make directory, where you can actually make multiple directories at once. With the with the cat, there we go, you can make multiple files, you can display multiple files at once. So for example, cat file1.txt, file2.txt will show you both of those file contents in a single command. And then last but not least, looks like second to last but not least, is the move command. The mv or move command moves or renames files and directories. Very useful if you want to, change the structure of your directories, move something from one location to another one that makes more sense, right? So move just needs 2 arguments. Arguments are what you pass after the command, kind of like a flag, right? So moves, you need the source, so where, what is it that you're moving, and then where are you moving it to. So for example, move notes.txt. It's going to look in your current directory. Is there a notes.txt in the current folder that you're in? Make sure you cd in, change directory to the correct folder. So it's going to move the notes.txt into my documents folder because that's the destination. That's the second argument. So again, moves notes.txt to the documents directory. If you want to rename a file or directory, you can also use the mv as well. So move old name.txt into new name.txt will rename old name.txt to new name.txt. So also you can kind of use it as a rename command. There's not a rename command, so the mv command serves both purposes. And then last but not least is the cp command. Very useful if you want to create copies of a file or directory. Very similar to the move command, you need a source and a destination. What are you copying and where are you copying it to? So for example, cp notes.txt. and then backup slash. The slash indicates it's a directory. It's going to copy the notes.txt to the backup folder. Always remember to put the slash if it's a folder, right? If it's a file, notice it doesn't have the slash. So to copy entire directories, use the -r flag, so recursive, similar to the remove. If you want to copy everything that's inside those directories, like if it has other directories, other files, and they're nested. Nested mean there's like one inside the other, inside the other, inside the other. You're going to want to use the -r flag. So it's going to copy everything from the projects directory into the backup directory. Very good idea to use the -r flag if you're, again, using a directory, which it's possible that directory is going to have subdirectories, right? Nested folders inside of it. We use the word nested, kind of like a Russian nesting doll. Russian nesting doll, right, is those dolls that have smaller dolls inside them. So same with folders, you can have nested folders. Alright, so here we're finally to our file commands demo. We'll demo some of the new commands, and it should give you everything you need for this week's lab. So if you're on the slides, you can click on this icon. If you're on the Canvas modules, you can just click on the week 3 playlist. So yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video.